Hi everyone, so as Sarah very kindly introduced me, I'm Ashley Petrons and my special set of skills revolves around marketing. My light bulb moment that marketing is what I wanted to do was back in 2011, where I got to wear a lot of pink. That's not why I did it. It helped. I was an intern for Cancer Research UK in their marketing and comms team.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, then I can actually read what I've written. It's fuck up night. I can do what I want, basically. So this eventually culminated in me running an agency, Make It Marketing, MIM for short, for those of you that don't know me. I then set down tools to go travel the world, because why not? And since returning to our fair city, I have worked as an in-house marketing manager for Sancho's, which is an in-house retailer down 4th Street. If you haven't been, go, it's great. Don't work there anymore, that is not a shameless plug. It's just genuinely really good. And as Sarah said, I now work for Crowdcube. So that's enough about present day me. I'm here to tell you about how 7 words changed my whole life about 2 years after these photos were taken. Would someone like some prawn cocktail? Yeah. Anyone for prawn cocktail? If you don't want it, I'll have it after this. Well, that was perfectly timed. I basically start at the title of my talk now. So, I'm afraid it's not good news, mate. The Monday to end all Mondays, because Mondays aren't bad enough anyway, right? After hearing those 7 words, I was shakily packing up my desk, trying to get out of there as quickly as physically possible before the floodgates opened. So tonight I'm going to talk about 2 fuck-ups, the fuck-up that led to that moment and the one that happened sort of gradually afterwards. So the job I was, let's be honest, fired from involved being business development manager for a graphic designer who cut their teeth working for big London agencies before setting up in the southwest, because that's the dream, about 10 years before I arrived on the scene. So his grand plan was bring on business development manager, scale up, and they could carry on doing what they wanted to do, and I was going to be there to help ramp things up. Great in theory, terrible in practice. So I remember meeting my husband after the first day. I was so excited to go back to work because I'd been on 2 months of gardening leave, had a bit of an identity crisis, took a lot of great photos of my cat. That's Joey, he features again later. So yeah, I remember seeing Steve after work and he sort of looked at me and he was like, oh my God, are you all right? Like, you literally look like you've seen a ghost. And I was just like, no, I don't think I am. And so even though in that moment I couldn't tell you exactly where, when or how it was all going to go wrong, I just knew it was going to. So I feel like the moment I about knew the size of it was when my manager's top tip for business development was, when you're cold calling your list, make sure you ask them when their annual report is going to be printed. Oh God. So that was general vibes, just oh my God. So as I hope you can tell from looking at me, this was not 1985. This was about 2013. So whilst I adhered to the request of cold calling, I also came to sort of teach myself about inbound marketing, website, social media, etc. And also realised that in that moment, their website, not that great. Also some feedback I was getting from cold calls before people told me to sort off. So if I could pin the fuck up on any particular moment, it would probably be pitching, doing this, like redoing the website, ramping up the social media, basically taking myself, doing anything I could not to be cold calling, because it is, oh, well, I find it very soul destroying. This was our website plan. It really was very basic times. So let's resume the timeline to September 2013 and the utterings of, I'm afraid it's not good news, mate, and me just getting out of there just as quickly as I physically could. And the events of that day will stay with me forever. And they went a little something like this. Pack up desk. Pop head round the door to say goodbye to the guys next door who were very nice and had no idea what was happening. Flee down 2 out of the 4 flights of stairs. Have a really good cry in the 2nd floor toilet. Walk the 10 excruciating minutes home. I've honestly never been more grateful to live and work in Exeter and not be in London and have an hour on the tube to get home. Call parents, launch into 2nd Snotfest, proper good cry of the day. Finish off box of tissues, wash face, get back on the phone. This time not to call my parents again for, an encore of Sodfest 2013. No, I rang contacts and people that I'd met and worked with in Exeter over the past few years, as well as a graphic designer who I got sort of straight away on my logo and a website. If anyone's wondering, no, not the guy that just sacked me, not him. So from these and other calls I made earlier that week, by the Friday, I had 4 clients, a website on the way, and a logo that, to this day, I'm pretty chuffed with. I like it. It's got pink in it. It's all good. So for those of you that are ready to head back to the bar, oh, it's great. She's turned a failure into a triumph. Go, Ashley. I'm afraid it's not good news, mate. Yes, you laughed. There is a second part to this story, slightly darker, but I'm not going to skirt around it because to me it's really important, and this is the big lesson for me. So as I was only a young soul of 27 when all of this went down, I had not experienced kind of proper failure, at least not how we term things in society as failure. So I didn't really have a hard-wired coping mechanism to deal with the fact that I had been fired. I'm just going to own it now. This is great, very cathartic. So let's fast forward 6 months, because that's what it felt like in real life, just a blur, to April 2014, where I sat in a box room in the RD&E with a psychiatrist and a nurse telling me that I had to just stop what I was doing. Just stop, because it had made me really sick. And thus began my years-long journey and battle with mental illness in the form of very severe depression. So the number of days that I physically did not want to get out of bed were numerous. I was trawling through photos to find stuff for the slideshow tonight. Literally don't remember taking that photo. Like, this time in my life was such a blur. Took loads of these though. He was heavily featured in this time. So the fuck up is obviously not that I succumbed to mental illness. I'm sure many of you sat around this room, either have gone through it personally or know someone very close to you that has. But at the time I didn't know that. To me that was a fuck up. I had failed. There was something definitely wrong with me. But it turns out, no, I'm just human going through some shit. And there we go. I had slide written down and I couldn't remember what was on the next one. This is fine. And that shit just manifested itself in a whole series of ways. So MIM was not eventually a success. It was a miracle. So things got better once I started to open up. About 6 months down the line, I actually told my parents, because I'm sure at that stage they had no idea anything was wrong. So owning my depression, I'm sure that's not for me. Owning my depression allowed it to stop owning me. I also want to point out this haircut was a huge fuck up. What I've got written there also is hilarious, the bigger the risk, the bigger the reward. Also not valid for that haircut. So that in 2 medium-sized nutshells is a magnifying glass on a period of life that I can look back on as the fuck up phase, of which I managed to crawl out of. And the nugget I will leave you with is it's much easier to take a breath and walk steadily back from the end of a cliff than it is to crawl back once you've fallen off the edge. Thank you very much for listening.